3rd and long, in which Brady drops back and then throws like a 20-yard dart on the near sideline to Branch, who was covered by Revis, but Revis got his arm in there and ripped it out. I think it was a big play in the game.
That wasn't that. It was later in the game, but there was a drive where it literally was like from like 13 minutes left to like 5 minutes left. The Patriots had the ball, and they got 0 points. Like it was called after it was called the drive to nowhere, because and they were down by 14. Yeah, they were down 28-14 at that point.
Yep.
And the biggest play of the game is after the Patriots scored to make it 14-11, because they had not been able to do anything the whole game, and then they scored to make it 14-11 at the very end of the 3rd quarter. The Jets got the ball back, and first play was like a 4-yard pass and whatever, 2nd and 6. In the very beginning of the 4th quarter, it was a 50-yard catch and run by Jericho Cotchery.
I don't know how did we not tackle him? Did that like pick?
He was just wide open and no one could get him.
Was he picked? We lost Matt for a second there. Hopefully he comes back. Or we lost me, dude. I don't even know.
And then their defense. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You cut out, and more. Maybe I cut out for the last 10 seconds.
You didn't cut out, but I didn't. Or you didn't cut out. Maybe I did.
So rewind 10 seconds.
Okay, so the biggest play was Jericho Cotchery 50-yard catch and run right after the Patriots make it 14-11.
Yeah, and I was like, was he picked?
No, it was like zone coverage, and he was just wide open.
Yep, that was huge. And then didn't Burris also score? Was that drive or the drive later?
It might have been that drive.
Yep.
Been not Burris, but Braylon Edwards.
That was a killer.
Yeah. No, there were times where they could have gotten back in the game, and it just they were just not good enough.
What was the issue overall?
They were just not good enough. The Jets did enough, and they didn't do enough.
Yeah, it wasn't I think if the Patriots had converted on that, like if there was no pick thrown to on the screen to Green Ellis on that first drive, they go down, put up points, whether it's 3 or 7. And then later on, if Crumpler doesn't drop that pass either, you go up by even more, you get a touchdown. I think that was pretty huge.
Yeah.
So
there's definitely room in there to, yeah.
I think we were discussing it, and really the whole story of the first half was the Patriots only putting up 3 and all the miscues they had. I'm going to ask you, what was the biggest miscue? Was it Crumpler's drop in the end zone? Was it the Chung muff? Like, tell me what do you think it was?
The Chung muff might have been the biggest, because it was right at the end of the second. It was right at the end of the half.
Yep.
And they were about to punt it away. And up until that point, the Patriots defense had been playing well. They gave up a touchdown on the drive before, but before that, they had at least played decently. And it was one of those things where they were kind of punting from midfield, right? So it wasn't like the Jets were going to get the ball at like the Patriots like 50. It was like they're going to get it in like inside their 20, their own 20. And there's a minute left, maybe. If you look at the clock, it was like within like a minute 20 to like 40 seconds, like in that range. I forget exactly. And the Jets got the ball at like the Patriots 40, 45, like right around midfield, and just drove right down. That was the other thing too, is the Jets got a lot of good returns too.
Yep.
But they got the ball at midfield and scored. If most likely they wouldn't have scored at all, or if anything, they would have gotten 3.
And how about that? I think it was in the second half. There was pass interference on the 3rd down call. It was on James Sanders, which looked pretty clean. It really looked clean. It was a 3rd down. It was a slant route right over the middle of the field. And I'm like, yeah, Patriots got off the field. James Sanders got called on a pass interference. That probably didn't really look like it at all.
No, but they didn't score on that drive. And it was still within range.
And what was the problem, though, at the end? It was the clock. Give us more time.
Yeah, still, if Chung didn't muff the punt, if Crumpler caught the pass, those are some pretty, if they just punted instead of tried to run that fake, and if Crumpler caught a pass that I could have caught or you could have caught,
Yeah.
if Gronk was there, Gronk would have caught that.
Yeah, why was the play not run to Gronk?
I don't know. That was really dumb. But there would have been, say it's 7-0, and so going into halftime it's 7-7.
A lot different.
That's a lot different. That's a huge difference. Being down 14-3.
Good for who was the one who scored the 2-point conversion? Wasn't it Falk?
Sammy Morris.
Same thing. But that was like his first touch pretty much of the entire year, I think, or only that was his only points of the year, I believe.
Something like that.
Unless CBS just botched it, or I botched it. Who knows? Let's not place any blame here. Nothing really else to discuss about this game. It was that final touchdown that New England scored to make it look like it was even a resemblance of a close game. It was just sad. Couldn't get the onside kick. It was just bad game altogether. Next game, Super Bowl 46.
For next episode, yes.
Yep, for the next episode, Super Bowl 46, do your homework on that. I've already gotten ahead. I've studied ahead. So, that is our Patriots and history recap. And I think it's time to get into...
hey, all you cool cats and kittens.
To get into Tiger King a little bit. Dude, I took such good notes on this, too. Oh, my God. Do you want to start or do I want to start?
Go ahead. You're rearing to go.
So I just wrote notes in chronological order. There are 7 episodes of Tiger King. If you haven't watched it, go pause and then watch all of it right now. So it started off, right, and immediately Carole Baskin is the evil villain right out of the gates, and she's criticizing Joe Exotic, and she's criticizing Doc Andel or whatever his name is. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess she's like an animal rights person. But then they show Carole Baskin, and she keeps tigers in cages, and she profits off of it, and she makes a lot of money and lives in a house. Meanwhile, Joe Exotic's living in a mobile home. So really, who's profiting more off of big cats? It's Carole Baskin. Carole Baskin sucks, okay? She also said, which was really creepy, that she never had any friends, and her 2 friends growing up were imaginary cats. She's a bizarre...
that's pretty relatable. I don't know what you're talking about.
Nope, not weird at all. You're right. I also wrote down in a note, Barstool Big Cat. How is he not getting tweeted at more? Because there are 7 episodes of a documentary about big cats, so I just wrote down Barstool Big Cat. Okay, how about the guy who wore sunglasses all the time that looked like a PFT commenter? He was a pretty interesting character. I just wrote guy that looks like PFT commenter. Carole Baskin definitely killed her husband. A cool Dorito for next week is brother husbands. Sister wives, brother husbands, Joe Exotic. Also, I love Joe Exotic's videos of reading Carole's diary. That was phenomenal. And then also all his little shows about like, next time I see Carole Baskin, I'm going to get her head in this jar. And then he would buy all these dolls and just start shooting them. And he'd buy this thing that you shoot and it explodes. And, dude, he's like, Carole Baskin, you ever come at me again, I'm going to put a bullet between your eyes. But first, I'm going to torture you first. I loved Joe Exotic. Also, the restraining order that Carole's ex-husband filed, very suspicious. How the hell is she not in jail? Also, tiger claws are very cool, how they can come out of their paw and then go back in. I thought that was a very great fascination for me. Joe Exotic's music videos of Carole Baskin killing her husband and feeding animal brains to the tigers, that was phenomenal. Let's see. Jeff Lowe, don't know what to think of him. His voice sounds like Aaron Rodgers. You know how Aaron Rodgers has that tone in his voice, like, yeah, I don't really care about anything. Like, same thing with Jeff Lowe a little bit. And also, good on Jeff Lowe for having a wife and then still hiring a nanny based on if she was hot or not, and so that he can have sex with other women. That's a power move right there. The PFT commenter guy, when he went to court, finally took his glasses off. Tim Stark, I wrote down because his last name was Stark. Carole's husband sucks. He's the definition of a simp. Unlikely relationships was PETA and Joe Exotic near the end. And you know the guy, Joe's first husband, who had owner property owned by Joe Exotic like tattooed right above his crotch area, and then he got the tattoo of like the bull horns or something. You can still see the writing around it. What the fuck's the point of getting the tattoo? It barely even covered it up. That was all the notes I wrote down. I don't know where you even want to start. Maybe with Carole Baskin because she's such a horrible character, or if you want to voice.
I just
wanted
to start all the way at the end with the dude with all the chins riding around on his jet ski.
Yeah, you really liked that, didn't you?
Yeah, no, I kind of want to grow up to be like that. He was on the way to fuck Carole anyway.
Yeah, 100%, dude.
Everybody wants to be like that when they grow up, though.
100%.
Just selling Hummers left and right for that you scam people off.
100%. Yeah, he's a scam artist, but also a scam artist is Carole Baskin.
Yeah, she killed her husband.
There's no way she didn't kill her husband, right?
I like how that she mysteriously claimed all of his assets in her name immediately before he disappeared, and in the transfer of the assets, it said the wording was in case of death or disappearance, and the lawyer that they had on was like, in 35 years of doing this, I've never seen the that phrased in that way.
That was absolutely bizarre. She literally broke in to like where the files were kept and took the two documents and then made new ones, right? For her husband's will.
It's something like that. And the whole time when people are like, oh, you did it, oh, you did it, oh, you did it, she was like, nah, I didn't. Like, she wasn't like vehemently saying like, no, like this is bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't kill my husband. Like, it was awful. She was just like, no, it's just funny how people say that. Like, there's like a weird thing about her that just makes me like,
I know, dude. Every time they interviewed her on whether she killed her husband or not, she didn't even. I don't think she was she upset that her husband died? I don't think so.
Well, obviously not, because she took all his money and he was filing a restraining order on her.
yeah. And then she was like, "Oh, I have no idea what the verbal abuse was." And then the cop was like, "Yeah, we can't get anyone because they threatened death onto someone." And I'm like, "Dude, literally, this is in writing. It was almost as clear as a letter that says, if I go missing, it was definitely my wife that killed me." It was that. It was pretty much like a letter that said that, and yet
and her explanation was like he took off on a plane or something like that. And everybody was like, no, he didn't.
Well, also, what do you think? So, did she plant the car at the airport?
I don't know. Well, obviously, she's gotten away with this, so she's done a pretty good job.
Yeah, apparently so. How do you think she killed him? Via tiger?
They have a bunch of big cats. They probably have a lot of tranquilizers and shit. She probably did that in the middle of the night and made them disappear. Shot them up with a lot of ketamine and then threw them in a ditch or some shit.
Oh my god. Yeah, also they're trying to figure out whether Joe Exotic was like, yeah, she definitely fed him to the tigers. You know, tiger eats all these bones and they eat the human flesh, and they could die. Their stomach acid would really just go through the bone, so there'd be no trace of bone left. And I'm like, Joe, you don't need to defend not being able to find bones. That property's so freaking large as it is. You could bury his body, and you would never find him either. Like that's also the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like how when they were asking how to get somebody to eat, when they're asking Carole, what would you put on someone to get them to get a tiger to eat them? And she was like, you don't spray that on them. You spray sardine oil. That's how you get a tiger to eat you. Which is yeah.
It was honestly horrible when they had sprayed cologne on Joe Exotic's shoes, so that the tiger started biting him and almost dragged him away too. There was no way that, and Jeff was like, yeah, he thinks that we sprayed cologne on his shoes. They were just going after his fancy shoes. Bullshit, dude. The tiger was obsessed with the shoes from the moment he stepped in the pit. There's definitely something on the shoes. They were trying to like they were probably trying to pull like a prank on Joe, but like that ended up almost really, really badly.